Week 14 is almost in the book, so I'm bringing you my Week 15 waiver wire ads to help you go for that fantasy football chip. And I just hope you didn't play against Josh Allen or you didn't play against Puka Nacua to bounce you out of the playoffs. I had him on plenty of teams. I went up against him in plenty of leagues. The leagues I went up with him, I lost. But as we look forward to the fantasy football playoffs, let's start it off with my first waiver wire ad, and that's going to be Adam Thielen for the Carolina Panthers. And we're talking about Adam Thielen last week versus Philadelphia, 19.2 fantasy points. In week 13, 23.9 fantasy points in full PPR. Dude's looking like vintage Adam Thielen from last season. Coming back, Bryce Young's looking super efficient, looking like he's the go-to target. Right now, he is 69% rostered, so I do think he needs to be 100% rostered. Adam Thielen's coming out of the gates hot. The matchups down the stretch, we got Dallas next week, we got Arizona, Tampa Bay, Atlanta. You got to feel very good about where we're looking at with Adam Thielen. He's my number one priority waiver wire ad. I understand he's not going to be out there for a ton of you, but I did want to bring him up and discuss some Adam Thielen. The second player I want to discuss adding in waivers, it's going to be Tank Bigsby for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Tank found the end zone in week 14, 13.2 fantasy points, 53% snap share, 18.55, 306 yards per carry, and one total touchdown. Did get 2 targets and 1 reception. Now, I was projecting a big day for Travis Etienne, and that did not happen in week 14. I should know that Tank Bigsby is the number one running back that you need to be targeting, that you need to have on your bottom end of your roster. Give me some Tank Bigsby. RB36 right now in fantasy football. Coming down the stretch, we got the Jets, Vegas, Tennessee. Some very great matchups for Tank Bigsby. I don't care that there's no Trevor Lawrence or there's going to look like there's no Trevor Lawrence for the rest of the season. Tank Bigsby is going to get the work. I like some Tank Bigsby as my number 2 waiver wire ad. And like we said, he's only about 50% rostered out there on sleeper leagues. So go target some Tank Bigsby if he is available. Now, I was an idiot with this next guy. I thought Braylon Allen was for sure going to be the guy that was going to take over this backfield, get all the work. I had Braylon Allen ranked pretty high in my rankings last week, and I was an idiot because I should have known that while we have been talking about stashing Ray Davis for the Buffalo Bills all season, you really needed to be stashing Isaiah Davis, because Isaiah Davis over the last 2 weeks, double-digit fantasy points, put up 15.7 with a 53% snap share, 10 attempts, 40 yards, but got 6 targets for 3 receptions. Now, Braylon Allen was the early down guy, but Isaiah Davis got all of the work. And I think for me, what this comes down to is a lot of realizing that the draft capital I got put into Isaiah Davis and Braylon Allen, they are not looked at any differently by the New York Jets. So Isaiah Davis was given just as many opportunities, and he looked explosive. Like we said, getting those 10 carries for 40 yards and 1 total touchdown. But the in PPR does have that advantage over a guy like a Braylon Allen. And coming down the stretch, Jets are going up against Jacksonville, going up against the Rams, going up against Buffalo. He's only 14% rostered, and he's going to be a fan favorite of everyone starting to add him into their fantasy football leagues. So make sure you go add Isaiah Davis if Adam Thielen and if Tank Bigsby are not available. Now, Sincere McCormick, he's my next guy you need to be adding off the waiver wire, only 18% rostered. And I understand some of you guys have absolutely loaded teams. We're heading into round 1, round 2, round 3 of the playoffs. And the way that you get this early on in the playoffs is because you have an absolutely loaded roster. So maybe some of these waiver wire additions, you're like, Caleb, I can't really have them at the end of the bench. But Sincere McCormick comes in as an undrafted free agent for the Vegas Raiders. 8.5 fantasy points in week 13, and then last week had 10.9. Now got 15 attempts for 78 yards, 3 targets for 2 receptions for 11 yards. It was a very impressive showing in this loss, and I just feel like Sincere McCormick is going to be overcoming Amir Abdullah. Now, the Raiders team sucks as a whole, but I think that's going to be good, especially for the checkdowns in full PPR for a guy like Sincere McCormick going forward. Now, he's only 18% rostered, so like we said, if you need some running back help, which running backs have been the staple of most of our fantasy teams that have gotten here because there's a ton of good guys at the top. But if you do need some help at an RB2 spot or maybe potentially a flex spot, I think Sincere McCormick's going to be able to give that to you week in and week out. Now, this is the week of the running back handcuff because we saw in this San Francisco 49ers game, we've seen CMC, Jordan Mason, and then Isaiah Guerrero go out with injury. We got a guy like Patrick Taylor enters into this game, puts up 8.5 fantasy points with a 33% snap share, 7 attempts, 25 yards, 1 total touchdown. Isaiah Guerrero looked great. He looked like, I would call him like an Alfred Morris from back in the day with the Washington Redskins. But Patrick Taylor got his opportunity He had the most touches out of the backfield when Isaiah Guerrero went out. So going forward down the line, the Rams, Miami, Detroit, I don't know how long Isaiah Guerrero is going to be out, but definitely make sure that you're targeting a guy like a Patrick Taylor, because it really doesn't even matter. If they put me back there at running back, I think I could produce some sort of fantasy football points, me be looking like a little bit of a Kyle Juszczyk. But honestly, Patrick Taylor is a guy that in a little bit of deeper league, like I prefer Isaiah Davis, I prefer Tank Bigsby, Adam Thielen, but I do think you need to be targeting some Patrick Taylor coming down the line, because I understand we can't always stash these handcuff running backs at the end of our bench, but this guy, if he gets the opportunity for the 49ers coming down the stretch, you 100% need to be targeting a guy like Patrick Taylor. Now, the next guy we're going to talk about, it's going to be the backup to Patrick Taylor. It's going to be Izzy Abanikanda, and he was claimed by the 49ers from the Jets off the practice squad about a week and a half ago. And if I'm a big Izzy believer, I loved him coming in the dynasty process when he got drafted in the 6th round of the Jets. Clearly, they drafted Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis, who were better than Izzy Abanikanda, but I think putting him in an offense with the 49ers, I think you could have the discussion that he could potentially be the RB2 coming down the line. Now, there is a guy like a Keyshawn Vaughn also on this roster, if anyone remembers Keyshawn Vaughn from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers days, but I do think Izzy Abanikanda is a better, more explosive running back. And so as much as I told you, hey, Patrick Taylor is the guy that we should look at because he did get all the opportunity, if for some reason Guerrero is out for an extended period of time, I do think Izzy Abanikanda, if you miss out on Patrick Taylor, is 100% a guy you should be targeting in your league. And the tight end position has sucked this year. We all know that, but Juwan Johnson, he's the next guy that I would be trying to add off of waiver wire. Put up 15 fantasy points versus the Giants. Get it. He got a touchdown. The Giants defense sucks to the fullest capacity, but Juwan Johnson's only 18% rostered. And when we're talking about a tight end landscape that you get past like the top 8 guys, it's really, really hit or miss with a lot of them. And even in the top 8, there's a ton of guys that are hit or miss each and every week. So Juwan Johnson, if you're super desperate, he's only 18% rostered on Sleeper. 100% go check out some Juwan Johnson. Now, we will be putting out a defensive rankings video for week 15 fantasy football, as well as kind of the rest of the season. I know a lot of you guys have been asking for a defense and kickers video. We'll get that for you this week. But Atlanta Falcons, as much as it's been an up or down defense to the number 29 defense, when we're coming down the stretch, we got Vegas, the Giants over the next 2 weeks in the fantasy football playoffs. These are good matchups for the Atlanta Falcons, who honestly, besides this last week, hadn't really been able to get pressure with their front four, which they were able to do with Kirk Cousins. And I understand, if you look, they put up 0 fantasy points, gave up 433 yards. So it's like, come on, guys. Like, Caleb, how can you tell me to start Atlanta Falcons? I just like these two matchups coming down the pike. So if you don't have an elite level defense, Atlanta Falcons would be a great streamer to potentially be considering. And my last and final player that we're going to be talking about as a waiver wire ad, it is going to be Jalen McMillan for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 21.9 fantasy points. Now, he did catch 2 touchdowns. So I understand it's the same argument we were making with Nick Westbrook-Akine, where the volume's not there, you think, but he did have 7 targets for 4 receptions for 59 yards. Going forward, I don't know how we can project this out, but he is the clear number 2 to Mike Evans. I do like him more than a guy like a Sterling Shepard, but he's technically the number 4 because you got Mike Evans, you got Cade Otton, and then you have like Bucky or Rachaad White, whoever is the running back in the game, has a little bit more upside for pass catching than a guy like a Jalen McMillan, but we did see him really have his breakout day of the season in week 14. So going forward, like we said, if you do need high upside shots, if you're in a deeper league, a guy like a Jalen McMillan definitely should be into your overall consideration. But if you like fantasy football, if you want to win your playoffs, hit that like and subscribe button. We are on the way to 5,000 subscribers. I am answering every start sit question down below. I'm answering every strategy question down below, and we will be streaming again this week on Wednesday night. So make sure you stop in, make sure you tune into the channel. Appreciate you guys so much for all the love and support you've been giving me all season. Hoping to be a face that you can come to, bounce an idea off that can help you win a fantasy football championship. So I appreciate you guys so much. Check out these 2 videos if you haven't, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.